participants.
Correct.
The participants will be at the bottom.
If you
There's one
click
participant,
if you
which
click
is-
participant, we could see their names, so we know
Someone else is there.
there's 2 people there.
If you have to put go to attendees, yes. There you go, there's Craig.
Hey,
How you
Craig.
doing?
Hey,
Sorry about that. We're having some tech difficulties. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Do you want to talk to them now?
Yeah, sure. Where do we have Craig Langus assigned?
Number
Number 12. All right, we're gonna, since you've been waiting so patiently, you're actually the very last thing on the list. But I think for obvious reasons, we will advance that. So we're going to jump out of order a little bit and get that taken care of. So I'd like to move down to Craig, Union Avenue walking study update. I know that we had a walking study, March. And do we have some notes on that?
It's all in the spreadsheet.
Craig, did you participate in that?
I did, yes.
Are you here in regards to?
Yeah, I
the
don't,
same?
just waiting on you.
And what's your name?
Tristan Miller.
We met before, you were here
Yeah.
before.
Yeah,
Nice to see
yeah,
you.
402 Union.
All right, so Tristan, your neighbor is here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we had the walking study back in March. How are things going?
You want my update?
Sure.
Great.
Leilani, what's the update?
The update is that right now, everything is gonna be done, what was from the report, the Wilk study report. But because there's gonna be repavement happening in like nearby streets as well as your street, we have to wait to the repavement, but that's gonna, everything we're hoping, no. We are, I can't even say we are, because just put me in a bind. We're hoping that the street will be fixed, everything with the recommendations from the walk study will be done by mid-August.
Okay.
Because we,
So, Leilani, can you just break down to me, because I know I sort of, I know that there was many bullet points there and suggestions, and then I sort of narrowed down what I thought was sort of covered the basis, but obviously that's just me speaking. What exactly do you, first of all, what do you know that they are planning to do? And number two, I've heard that they're starting to pave half of our street beginning like next week or something
Yes.
from Tompkins. So how does that include in your findings or what you plan to do?
hold it on.
No, sorry.
No, you're fine. So according to everything that was stated on the, from the walk study, by adding the stop sign at Tompkins, and extending the curve, adjusting the crosswalk across Union, to the new curves that, to increase visibility. I believe there was another stop sign to be put, yes, a little further, is it needle here?
There's a needle lane.
I think it's like,
So it's putting the stop signs, it's extending the curves and, no, extending the lines.
right.
I
I know that there had been talks about not, I think that the new plan, at least what Jerry was mentioning, was that there'd be a line put in place of like individual spots. There would just be one line that lined out the parking section. And then I don't know, I know there had been some talks about putting down some vibrating,
Humble
the-
strips.
what are they called?
strips. Yeah.
Humble strips.
Rumble strip.
Oh, yeah, from the new.
Right.
That like digging up the line down the road.
Yeah, it's all, these bullets are all the.
So.
Oh.
So if the bullets are there and that was the recommendation, that's what's gonna be done, but they didn't want to do it before the repavement. So
Okay.
everything will be done by mid-August. Because the repavement of all those streets are gonna start next week
I'm gonna like start tomorrow, so I know the parking tollways on starting.
on
tomorrow.
your street.
Outside our house, yeah.
Okay. So, but I know I asked Jerry on Monday and he said, and I said, please give me a date of when do you think it's gonna be finished? I don't want to when it starts, when it's finished. And he said mid-August. Is that okay, Craig?
I mean, that's wonderful. I so appreciate you guys, and you know, I think that it's going to make a major difference to, you know, the safety for the children and being able to walk those streets and send them out to school, and for many other purposes, I think, as you know, as it unfolds in the future. But I just really want to say thank you so much. That's more than okay. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Craig, Craig, I know that Rob wanted to mention something too. Right?
Excellent.
Excuse me.
Yes.
What about the Ward Avenue Bridge? Because according to Carmody's study, he said that the Ward Avenue Bridge work and the road paving must proceed before the other work is done. Ward Avenue Bridge is not scheduled immediately.
That's because it's part of the Army Corps
Yeah,
project.
I understand,
And it
but the
can't-
notion that after the paving's to be done next week, that they're gonna start working. I don't know whether that's accurate or not.
But why would I guess I don't understand why the bridge would slow down, putting in like stuff in the
That's what
pavement.
Carmody wrote.
Well, the bridge you would have to do up to probably 20 feet prior to the bridge, because they're gonna remove the bridge. They're going to restore it, they're gonna widen it, so it makes no fiscal sense to pave anything up into that point
Right.
when they're gonna be using portions of that area as a staging area. And
Okay,
you're gonna diminish the process.
I think the.
But is that Union Avenue or is that?
That's Ward Avenue.
That's Ward.
Right.
Yeah. So that's not
nothing-
even gonna affect
Nothing, yeah.
the ward.
But if they're
Of
gonna,
Union.
if they're gonna repave Ward, say that's part of I'm just being hypothetical. If they're going to be inclusive of paving Ward, they're going to stop at least 100 feet away from the bridge,
Mhm.
because that bridge is coming down. So it
Yeah.
makes no fiscal sense to waste your dollars at that point when the bridge is gonna be reconstructed.
The union work, I mean, they're not mutually exclusive things, right? I mean, the union work,
In terms
according
of
to
the
Jerry,
repavement?
yeah.
No, there's repavement on Union and street. I'm bad with
There was
streets.
a whole
There
list.
was a whole list
Yeah,
of streets that are being repaved.
it's sent, but they
So-
sent it in our email, it's on the website.
I think the question is, so in our notes here, in two places, according to Carmody and maybe others, that this stuff, such as the striping, the purple strips, can't proceed until the Ward Avenue Bridge is done. But we've also heard that it's going to begin right after paving. So
Definitely the
both
stop.
of those things can't be true.
Maybe not every single bullet point.
Yeah.
But if the stop signs are going up, and I can definitely get a review with Jerry as to which bullet point that is going to be done. But the stop sign, it could be the stop signs, it could be the
Yeah, I think across,
extending the short curb, you know.
if we can get Jerry to confirm what
Yeah.
is actually happening in August and share it with the union folks.
And probably you always have to keep in mind that those drop dead dates of completion or start, you always have to add a margin of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just like they did with the Waverly Avenue
Mhm.
Bridge, which is at the crux of the flood zone, and they've pushed it back twice,
I'd like to add one other
you
thing.
know?
What doesn't have to wait for anything is trimming the hedges at the corner of Tompkins and Union. We've been asking for that for a very long time. I don't see why that can't be done right away. I spent an hour this morning at the corner of Tompkins and Union, watching cars come down Union and turn. And one thing I noticed is that as cars come down, I wish Mr. Carmody was here, is that as cars come down Tompkins and make the right turn, invariably, every single car makes a wide left turn. And if you have the hedges, you can't see oncoming cars. Most of the time, there were no cars coming down Union towards Tompkins. But every once in a while, when there was a car, there was a near accident. because are making the wide turn car and they're coming into the lane of the oncoming cars.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to kind of see some of this with your own eyes, but well, I think that we'd all sort of understand the margin of whatever needs to take place first, and knowing that it's happening and that it's going to be completed is just a wonderful start. And then, yeah, sure. I mean, maybe just so that I don't want to send you guys any more emails. Trust me, I apologize. I've just been trying to stay on top of it, but if you want to just shoot us an update or shoot me an update, and I could pass it off to the residents or however you feel fit, you feel it's best to handle it.
Yeah, so I think next steps, we just get some clarification, since Leilani's already in close communication with Jerry on this. Maybe we just get a little bit like a clarity on that and then circle that back to you, Craig.
Cool.
Update everybody. But yeah, it seems like it is kind of a two-part thing, but we should see what part A holds and what part B is going to hold for the project.
I will email everybody tomorrow. I think I have time tomorrow, my day, to talk to Jerry, and I'll ask about the hedges as well.
Yeah, I think that.
Thank you.
Who does the hedge trimming? DPW, right? It is.
But if it's private property, they need to ask the resident first to cut them back. If they're not in agreement, then the DPW comes in and does it at a cost. I believe Jerry.
We should be done months ago. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe we should check on that. All right.
Hey, Leilani, can you also just check as part of your conversation with Jerry about the difference between the one half of Union they plan to pave and when you suspect the other half will be paved, if that's part of the same, timeline issue, that would be great.
So one half pavement versus the other.
Yeah, right now I think it's supposed to go from like Tompkins to, I'm not really even sure. And then I'm not sure when the other half is planned to be paved too, but maybe that's what the discrepancy is.
From Kinman down, right now, it's got it all off the parking starting tomorrow to the 28th. So I guess that's the first phase.
And you just want to know when it's going to be done, when it's going to be finished?
Well, more so like there's just question. I imagine that there is a plan to do both sides, and if so, when do they plan to do part two, the half that goes from Halsted to wherever they're stopping?
Okay.
Thank you.
Not sure.
All right, thank you so much. And is there anything else you wanted to add, Tristan, since you're here?
Sorry, yes, yeah. Sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
Anything else you want to add?
No, everything's like good, thanks. Hopefully
You're in that
finally.
email thread, right?
Yeah.
And so I'll put it through that.
All good.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you all. My best. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you.
Best. Take care.
You too. Is there more cups out there?
402.
One more?
It's
One
the-
more cup. One more.
Take that one.
All right, so let's jump back to the new business. So Mount Pleasant, Halsted. We had one of the residents that emailed us a couple of days ago about sort of the backup of traffic from along Mount Pleasant at the Halsted Mamaroneck intersection.
It's true, it backs up.
It's true.
So Dan has applied for a grant for that intersection. I don't know where that's at.
Yeah, he applied.
Because I sent a letter from Safe Routes to school for him to send with the grant. That's why I know. And I know he can't really do anything because all those traffic lights need to be updated. So you would have to see if Dan has heard anything back on the grant.
And then I would fold that in, asking Dan, that whole area is going to be under duress for a couple of weeks when they finally shut the bridge down, because the town is going to assist us in having additional police presence and they're going to be monitoring the traffic flow because traffic is not going to be crossing over the Waverly Avenue Bridge and it's going to be diverted down Hoyt, up on Palmer Avenue to Boston Post Road. It's going to back up to Griffin. It's going to back up into the town. So this general area that we're discussing right now is probably going to be encompassed in increased traffic as
And it's
well.
starting next
It's
week.
gonna be worse when school starts.
Right.
Because it's
So-
bad normal.
So in the traffic conversations we have been in with the IABC and with the town, you know, and Dan can really, really abreast you with this, but the gist of it is that they are aware and they have a traffic flow plan, but we're not going to see that instituted until it actually shuts down and they come in and assist because they're going to be redirecting traffic throughout the village.
And the purpose of the redirect is that they're doing work somewhere? What's?
The Waverly Avenue Bridge is closing down for 2 years because it's part of the Army Corps plan. What happened instead of
When's
it
that
being,
work is supposed to start?
it's supposed to start within the next few weeks.
He's getting delayed.
He's getting.
July
But
27th.
It was supposed to start July 1, but what's happening is the town received a grant where they're taking onus of the project, and it got drawn out of the Army Corps plan, so that's going to shut down first instead of it being folded in the last moment of time.
Well, because the town of Mamaroneck
Owns all the bridges.
so they're doing the work.
So who will respond to the resident who wrote about this? I mean, I will, but
That
I will
things
do
are
it
gonna get
only
worse.
Well, no, I just wanna-
Thank you, things are gonna get worse. That's what it is.
Somebody to just say-
if there's a grant being proposed or we're waiting on word, like that's the answer to that.
We have
And
to,
I would guess that if there is, if even if Dan gets the grant, it won't happen for at least another 3 years after that, because that's what happened with the Halsted Avenue project and the project around Mamaroneck Avenue.
Okay.
Like it just takes time,
I'm gonna
unfortunately.
write Dan, ask him about the grant. And then, because I think I brought this up last meeting, I don't really have a plan for it, but I think we can do a better job of keeping our residents in the loop once they've written.
Okay, can we talk about that for a moment? The subject of communicating with residents in terms of what the traffic commission recommends and the follow-up when these things go to the board of trustees and they approve things. We need to have a better system of letting people know when these decisions are made and when they can expect
And who's making it?
results.
And who's making the, and who's sending an email to the residents? Is that what you're asking? As
Yeah.
well?
I think there's a broad, I mean, Milani and I talked about this. I mean, there's sort of a broad communication dilemma, right, that exists. And you know, I think we're one small committee that is sort of that sees it from our vantage point. But I think that there's not a lot of feedback coming from the board of trustees all the time on what gets accomplished, right? And that's happened, or something happens, might not be at a meeting, but it might be just a decision that Jerry's able to act upon, right? And we don't know that something happened, nobody's really telling us. I think the best thing that we can do now, I try to acknowledge, or one of us tries to acknowledge that somebody emailed. So I'm generally like, thanks for having a meeting, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're doing right now. Sometimes there's follow-up, but then this also gets to the other issue, and it's not on the agenda, but we've had it on the agenda a couple of times, is the form.
Didn't I just in the last meeting said that form ain't up?
no,
No, it's not up. And
See,
so.
but you guys saw the email.
Yeah.
so that's what Ryan is trying to say, that's where the drop off is coming. Because like I forwarded the email from Mr. Marconi today in regard, and I know I was in that meeting where they were in the discussion of the dollars and cents and implementing the parking meters, and he's requesting enforcement. But the breakdown is, what is the policy, what kind of procedure can we create amongst committees and boards to merge communication to the resident or residents that are lodging the issue.
And as ambitious as I am on things,
Right.
that is not
So
up to us to
No.
decide that. This
So-
goes well beyond,
Right.
this is an organizational issue.
Right.
That exists.
I mean, that's
at
a
the village
big
level.
picture thing. The only
That's
thing
a
we can
very
do
big picture thing.
is really, I think it's okay for individual members of our committee to respond. At least they get something.
Or maybe if the
Whether
board,
it's right or wrong, at least they're in the.
or if the liaison or the board, whatever resolutions get passed and approved, my thought process or suggestion would be, if, say last night, 13 of our items got pressed through the resolution,
Through the Board of Trustees.
through the Board of Trustees, and that information got kicked back to us, we would be able, one of us would be able to pick through it and say, gee, Mr. Marconi, I'm giving an example. It went through on this date, here's the resolution, you can follow up with the village manager or you could call a regatta to find out where we're at with that. And then it's left us. Here's where it sits, here you go. If the board was able to give us that information in return, where we would be able to answer those questions
And
one
Rob-
at a time.
And Rob's done a pretty good job of keeping up on some of this stuff, right? And you know, when things sort of close out.
But he's asking, even though the stuff is being recorded on the paper, I think what Mr. Stark is asking is what is the procedure and what is gonna be like a moving forward procedure on how to best respond to the residents? Because I think that is a great suggestion. I'm not sure if that's on the ownership of the trustees to do that.
I think the trustees need to communicate
But-
it to us and then we can follow through.
Or
we could
the
vote on it,
office
you know.
staff, the office.
that's what I was gonna say, like
You know,
somebody like Robert Angelito, who's in charge of communications, how to best put that forward in newsletters, but
Or just kick it back to the boards that requested the resolution. Your resolution was approved and passed. Here are the numbers. So then we know that that happened. So if Robert wanted to respond to someone in regard to that, he could say, you know, it was passed on this board meeting, here you go.
I
I was,
like that.
I was told by Dan, I think, when something gets approved, Dan is supposed to do the next step. So-
My understanding that it's supposed to be a staff job, right?
Right.
A staff function. And the reason for that is because it is really important
I'll
that,
take the job.
that there's an expenditure made with tax
Yeah,
dollars
me.
and there's been a complaint made that it's in the best interest of the village to
Right.
communicate that to a taxpaying resident, right? It's not, you know, we might forget,
Okay.
we might miss it.
Right.
Well,
And we're not held accountable. for
I
anything
can
if
also,
we missed
give-
it.
so the speed limit signs at the harbor is another example because staff isn't getting answers either. Because Jason, the superintendent of recreation, has tried to get answers, spoke to Sally, had me email Sally. And there's still no speed limit signs, and I believe you guys approved them, right?
It's all quiet. Rob had something.
And there
to say.
was no work order because they checked that too.
What, Rob, you were gonna say, you had an idea, you said.
I think this is an issue that the village manager is the overall executive.
Yeah.
And I think we should ask him what he recommends in terms of what kind of communication policy, whether it should be from the board, whether he would like us to do it. But I would like to get some guidance and some policy structure of communications, and he's the appropriate person to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, a basic flow chart would be helpful, who does
talked about that
what.
before,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've talked about this, but Jerry's also got more involved with this.
He gets involved when he steps back, he gets involved when he steps back, fine. Like you said, Dan is supposed to, does Dan attend the board of trustee meetings? Okay, so then he responds, and lets us know what's going on, that's what's supposed to happen.
I will
'Cause
ask.
he's involved in like every single issue, more or less.
So-
And why isn't there somebody else from the village here tonight?
I don't know.
Is there somebody, is that a mandatory thing?
Which one?
In
Which
the
way?
past, we've
That
had,
is-
in the
that's
in the
asking
past,
for
we've had Dan.
It's
at our
not, it's not a mandatory
And
thing, but
we've
it's
had,
certainly.
when Dan wasn't here, Jerry was here.
If
Now, neither one is here.
So I'm asking, is that a mandatory thing outside of the liaison being at board meetings or committee meetings? Is it mandatory for the staff to be here?
I just asked the question, why is nobody here?
And
It's,
I'm-
it's not. I
Well,
think
we
the
don't-
traffic commission and the rec commission is the only two that have staff that attend, but they don't have to attend.
I would have to say that.
But I feel like it's useless for you guys without staff.
Yeah, I think so, without.
I
Dan
think
here.
that,
Thank you for pointing that out. I
If you
feel
look
the same.
if you look at the minutes, okay.
Well, and
or-
it's the same for
You-
my
you guys
commission.
should-
It would be
guys,
useless
if
if
you
we
look
didn't
at-
have
If you
the
look at the
staff.
minutes, or you look at Robert's,
Michael wants to speak.
If you look at the minutes or Robert's reports, every other line is Dan will follow, but we can't do anything almost without him. So it's
No,
difficult
yeah.
here.
I'll say that if we have a meeting where,
If not here, it's like, we're kind of stuck.
I mean,
You and
otherwise,
Jerry-
I would say it's gonna be a lot of work for Ryan, because Ryan's gonna have to then send an email to Dan and
Yeah.
Jerry saying,
Right.
this is what we talked
Okay.
about, this is what you need to do, and then they have to go back and forth. and
well,
back.
Well-
historically, there was the chief or the ex-chief liaison, there was a representative from the police, and there was what is Dan. He is the traffic guru. We're here as a vice for the residents to actually, explain what is needed, where we have our feet and our boots on the ground. But he's the one at inception that could tell us if it's legal, not legal, if it should move through. And it's an important, the traffic commission and flooding, I mean, every committee is important, but this is about traffic and safety. This is about serious situations that occur in the village. And with the proper support, this commission is chasing itself in circles.
Exactly, but I think we've been doing well. I mean, Dan and Jerry have been coming for like 18 months straight. They've only missed very few.
yeah, and this meeting moved around, so I'm not gonna blame them for doing that.
No,
We have Sound of the Sound, whatever that.
Yeah,
is.
and they're
So-
singing.
So they're singing those too.
Maybe.
Oh,
I feel like I feel like that was directed towards me.
I'm sorry. I
What?
just see me. I was naive. I was like, are
But
they?
let me make a couple of points. One, I think if there is a meeting without Dan or Jerry, we should be making a very crisp list of, and maybe this is your job, but we can all help, of the 8 things we want to ask or tell Dan to do.
Right.
In terms of communication with residents, I think there's a couple stages. One, we should be very responsible about, letting residents know we have got their complaint.
Absolutely.
Now, when there's a form, they should get an automatic one, but there's no form yet. So,
Right.
and we can also say, we got your complaint, would you mind going to this form and filling it
Right,
out?
and pointing them towards the link.
So-
That would be
Mine's been
helpful.
answered almost every email. You answer a lot of
I
emails.
probably miss a couple, but I try to, at
Okay.
least- I try to at least respond
Right, so there's a
something to somebody.
Yeah.
even if it's
And
just,
we can
hey, we have a
share
meeting
that
coming.
responsibility.
And I try to do that. I
I've seen
try
your
to
name,
jump
right.
in when I see nobody has or.
And then there's the follow-up, and I think there's two, then the flow chart branches, there's follow-up that doesn't involve the board of trustees. Like if Dan makes the request to DPW or something, that we can communicate back to the resident.
Right.
When it's a motion that goes to trustees, it's a lot more time involved. And I'm not sure how to handle that.
So put forth a stop sign or a crosswalk. I know that those we're allowed to do that, but do we still need the board of trustees approval?
Yes,
Push that forward. So everything is,
you need an approval for everything except for replacement of signs
okay.
and updates of lines that are, painted. Those are work orders that can go through.
Right,
Everything else is a resolution or an ask or a suggestion.
right, like the motion.
All right. There was a lot said there.
But
There's
I,
no meeting.
since, but I hate to keep yapping, but it's all about organization and
Follow up.
execution. So I'm going to give an example. Patty Trifoletti on 10/13/22 requested for a removal of a parking spot to be removed in front of St. Vito's Church on Old White Plains Road and New Street. It's clear and concise hazard. Dan confirmed that. And here we are with that being questioned twice. We had another issue on New Street, and it's New Street again, correct?
Yeah,
New,
that was the commercial parking.
Right, so that's commercial parking on New Street. And then on Underhill, in the same area,
That's fine.
we requested stop signs and signage to be replaced. Included, which the stop signs needed to go to a resolution.
And that was
Updated
requested by the
Police department.
And that's,
So-
and that's not something that has to go.
No, one thing has to go through the board, the
Which is
stop
that?
signs. With,
The sign change you guys approved, but not the stop sign. The
Right.
Stop sign
So the
wasn't on your agenda.
But no, I was asking this, one thing that does have to go to the board is the removal of the parking space.
right,
correct?
but we already moved this
Did that go to the
forward
board?
twice, and it drops off and it never gets there. And this is dated back from 10/13/20. So
And when you
let
say-
me,
when
let
you-
me just like get through my thought process.
Go,
I'm gonna
go, go, go,
forget it,
go.
'cause
So wait,
it's a-
but that never went to the board.
No. Not that I know of, and the spot's still removed, and she's questioning it, so, which is an area situation, but here we go. You have 3 separate items happening within 25 feet of each other. If we're gonna be discussing Union Avenue and Anita Lane, and there's issues there, that whole resolution should go in as a package deal. Or if we're discussing Old White Plains Road and New Street and Elliott, that area should go in as a package deal and be discussed in the work session as a package deal, and then move to the board as a package deal. Because you're dropping off stop signs, that's a liability. Because now somebody's requesting stop signs, not once, but twice. Our own police department are requesting stop signs, and it never makes it to the board.
Why is that?
I don't
That's
know.
That's the question. Why is
Yeah.
that? And
And
maybe we
it's
can,
I would be putting it on, or if there was an email that was sent, then I would, then it would,
Yeah.
if it goes straight to Dan, or if it goes straight to Jerry, or if I'm in a meeting, then I put it on.
Well, some of these predate you're just on the cusp of coming on over here, so we're going, so that's part of the tracking sheet for us is to see, okay, we're having these specific situations in these areas, or how come this didn't go to the board? I mean, because I attend the board meetings, I see what's missing. How can we help the entity of us in its entirety, along with you, folk, like filter it and streamline it so it all goes in one place, because one thing bounces off another, and then one thing gets forgotten, and then we're turning it to a year and a half later, and we haven't removed the parking spot. It's in front of a church. We need stop signs. We need to change the signage over here.
Can
So
I-
you have this whole situation
Can I make a
happening
suggestion?
probably all over the village. Not, I'm just using it as a specific.
Robert has been really good about doing your minutes right away. I would suggest that when he does the minutes, maybe he can bold the actions that the board needs to take, and then you can just pass that on,
It's all in the minutes.
because it's all
If
in there.
somebody reads the minutes, they would see what needs to be done.
But you need to, make stand out, like they can't read through, Leilani can't sit there and read through the whole entire minutes, like if you can just bullet point for her,
Or just
Maybe,
pull out
like,
what was requested as a resolution.
would that be helpful?
What I try to do at every single meeting, what we say that we want to put forward is what I take a note, not even a mental note, so I forget. I take a note and then I send an email, or in the meeting, I'll send an email directly to Dan and say, and I'll wait until the whole meeting is done and I'm making a list, an email, and say, Dan, can you put this at the next meeting? Now, I would say what could possibly be a drop off on my part is, especially since our meetings are every second Tuesday, which is after the board meeting, and you have to wait a whole nother 2 weeks. And sometimes I can also forget to follow up to say, put this back on. Now, I will take ownership of that. So now that I'm being mindful of that, that's what I will remember to do.
No, but we're here to support each
No,
other.
I get it.
But
I
if
get
he's
it.
passing it on to you, then you don't even need to write that email, you could just forward on.
No, but even on Dan's part, like if I sat there and put it on he gets that email the Wednesday after our meeting, right? Our board meeting
He
just
doesn't
happened.
make the next agenda for another.
Exactly, and sometimes that next agenda
Right.
doesn't happen until
Yeah,
like the week or two after, and then everybody else's agendas come in, or everybody else.
Right,
So it could be forgotten, and there's times where he'll say, okay, and then forget to put it on. And I've seen that happen.
And I've also heard if there's too many items, you have to hold off on things.
Well, that's happened to Rob pointed that out at a meeting where we had a few things on, and it sort of just got.
That was like last meeting.
Yeah, I think
last
maybe
meeting
a
was
meeting,
discussed.
or, yeah. All right, so I mean, there's a few things that we can do to improve. I mean, but and we talked about this once before, and you know, it called my attention again, where you're talking about more of an integrated approach to problems, right? Like that, you know, you have 3 or 4 things happening in a 25 foot zone of the village, right? And so how do we present that in as a package? I think is the term that you use.
Well, if
Is
you-
there a way to do that, or at least think about it?
there is a way to do it. If you're looking at the list and you see that Boston Post Road, whatever, the number 1 on old business. If there's other items in the list that's near Boston Post Road, we have this that came up, whether it came, and or even if it was new business. If it was new businesses around Barry, which is somewhat near Union,
Yep.
then bring those up all together. I think that's what you're saying.
Right.
So you're looking at what a new email, whatever new that came through in an email, then looking at the list and saying what else here was not addressed or was not put forth to the board, and then put it up. Does that make sense?
It's a question of
Really
timing,
upset.
but sure, yeah.
What are you upset about? What are we upset about?
We're not getting stuff done.
Tonight or in general.
And I want to say something, but I want to understand that I'm saying this because I want to try to solve whatever problem we have getting stuff done. Lonnie, I'm going to read you from what I wrote in the minutes. On Brixmore, Leilani will get written updates from Dan Sarnoff on this issue and all outstanding traffic issues. Leilani will follow up to get the form added to the website. We need updates from the building department. On the issue we talked about, Vision Zero, Leilani was asked to bring this issue to the attention of the Board of Trustees for some kind of public, some kind of marketing or relations.
The board spoke about them.
Need updates from Dan Sarnoff on New Street. Need updates from Dan Sarnoff on recommendations at Crown Court. Need updates from Officer LaRocco. Matt Carmody apparently looked at Walter's Hot Dogs and we're waiting for his recommendations. Someone needs to notify Mr. Marconi. He's been asking for updates for forever. Leilani will speak to Dan about I-95 and other issues and request that Dan provide the Traffic Commission with a written response. Dan needs to provide updates on Royal Place. Waiting for a report from Matt Carmody. This is all filled with not getting things done. I don't know what the solution is,
What we
but
can
I'm
do is-
upset that we're not getting things done.
What we do is give reminders from month to month.
Okay,
I remember,
so can I, sorry, just let me just kind of comment to what Bob just said real quick. I think part of this process is we've made a comprehensive list of things that have occurred. And Rob, you've been managing that list in the spreadsheet. And now we see how these things interrelate with each other. We've talked about the integrated nature of it, the package, if you will, right? And how that relates to each other. And we have all these things out there. I don't necessarily think it's this group not getting things done, to be honest. And I think we just referenced several things that Leilani has advanced that haven't gotten done, but that's not necessarily on this group or Leilani. I think it's, at some point on the staff, and we have a very small staff in the village, I think. I'm just looking at a message from Dan, and he started an email to me a few days ago with, I've been tied up for the last few weeks. So not a few days, a few weeks. And I don't think he's making it up. I think he's been doing other things. So the frustration is we're not getting enough attention on the things that we think are important. we've done a really good job, Rob's done a good job at pulling all this stuff together, and we have a lot of information that by bringing it all together and presenting it in this package integrated way is even more important than it previously was, just as singular items coming across email. So like we somehow like brought this thing together, magnified the problem, and it's still not getting the attention that it deserves. And I think that's part of the frustration. I think. I want us to really stay as a group positive and optimistic, because what we have done is really remarkable, and I'm super proud of it. And I talk to people in the community, and they think it's amazing. People talk about this spreadsheet. People come up to me in the street. I'm seeing sidewalks happen, get changed around. I'm seeing crosswalks go in. I'm seeing crosswalks get improved. So we are making progress. Is it as much progress as we want? Absolutely not. Do you have your bike lanes yet? No.
No bike.
And I'm incensed we don't have bike lanes. But I just want us. I think that we can feel a sense of urgency and be upset about it. But I really want us to continue with putting a spotlight on the things that matter, and the spreadsheet matters, and these issues matter. And look what we did with Rockland. We were dogged about it.
Yeah, we got a study done.
You look at what we did with Union. I mean, government is about incrementalism, and I want us to be proud of what we're doing. I know it's frustrating. I get frustrated at it too. And that's why I call Rob or Leilani, and they put things in context for me. That's my piece. So I know I said too much, but you were going to say something.
No, not really. I think I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think we should look at the positives. As far as what Dan's supposed to do, I mean, he has a long list. All we could do is give reminders to whoever. Just give reminders. We have a list, just remind them all up. Make a little checklist, because of the 10 things we've asked Dan, or maybe Leilani to do, I'm sure a large, significant number have been done. So focus on that. Just, no one takes it personally, just another.
Or been done as far as we can do.
As
Like,
far as we can do. We
I
can't-
think the frustrations voiced earlier about the form and the speed limits in Rhode Island, those are really good examples. Like, Dan's not bottlenecking those. We're not bottlenecking those. We don't have a lot of enforcement powers here, as we know. So I don't know. I mean, what do we do? And that, I think that contributes to that feeling of we're doing our part, but it's not actually.
It sounds like Jerry and Dan need additional staff to help them.
We also have a budget within
I
the
know.
community to work with,
I know.
of hiring and how much we can,
Mhm.
and not that everything will present itself a problem when we evolve as a people. Because the more that we have, I get it, organizational. There are a lot of things that need to be done. There's a lot of things that I'm frustrated with. Personally, I don't have the all capacity to do everything that everybody wants me to do, but within the confines that I do try to do them. And I understand we want a lot of things done. And I wholeheartedly understand the frustration, because I'm frustrated about a lot. I'm frustrated about the lack of enforcement, because I can say, like, if there is, I think that would be the
Double park.
no, not the double parking, but the speed limits at Harbor was done, 2 months ago? Was approved 2 months ago. And if it's still not there, then why are we not gently reminding
but we-
DPW to do that?
There was never a work order put in.
But that's, again,
Well,
that's,
it was reminded. Jason spoke to people. I emailed Sally. Sally forwarded my email and copied me to Dan, and it still wasn't done. I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's a work order, but I don't know for sure if maybe now there's a work order. But again, like, that was a month ago almost. And even if the work order came in now, how far down the list of work orders?
Right.
And camp started
Correct.
weeks ago.
And so, Leilani, do you think it's worth our time, or do you think it'd be a good strategy to try to sit down and try to get 30 minutes with Dan or Jerry?
personally, I haven't seen Dan. Ever since I'm coming to this building, I haven't seen him. I know that sometimes he has to early because he has not been feeling well, but he's also doing a lot.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this is not the only fish in the sea in terms of traffic.
Right.
Um,
But we're real important.
no, let me tell you, we're all important.
No, I know.
No, and I want people to truly understand that, like when we start to try to see what committees deemed more important than the next. Because if children are getting hit by cars, or we're having flooding, or people are having housing issues, or or there's something else, everything in this village is just as important as the next.
Right.
And if we're starting to try to say who's more important, then you're leaving people out.
Yeah.
And I don't like that narrative.
Yeah.
I really don't, because everything
I was
in
being
this
tongue
village is
cheek by
important.
saying, I was being tongue in cheek by saying.
No, but and it's not even just you, because I literally heard it a few times today and
yeah.
throughout the week. So it's just, I want people to really understand that everything is.
And
Well,
so,
everything is.
so, you know, so there are priorities, right? And I think that this group has tried to make priorities because there are so many issues.
Yes.
We try to take integrated approaches. We scored things out. We rank things. So we've done sort of a technocratic approach to, you know, making things that we think matter, elevating those, because things can get lost in the shuffle or
Right.
with all the other priorities. So I think part of having these priorities and we go after them again and again and again and again. Of course, that's frustrating. That's part of the frustration, because you feel like you're repeating yourself. But I think by repeating ourselves and by being consistent and highlighting the priorities, have actually advanced a couple things. I mean, let's be honest. If we just kept on, you know, swinging for the fences and waiting for the next email to come across the page and say, oh, what about this? What about that? I think that's the old way that this committee had functioned at different times. I'm sure under Shannon Purdy it was perfection, because she's really smart. But you know, I think at different moments it's been like, well, what do we do about this? What do we do about that? Now that I think we're focused, I think we stay focused. And of course, it's going to be a little frustrating because we're not going to get movement every single week. And it's been summer and Dan's been out. I know something's going on, right? And you know, and that's fine.
Joe has been out as well.
And so I just want us to move through the agenda and talk about the whole business real quick. On the Boston Post Road and Fenimore and Delancey, you know, we have these kids get, you know, a kid got hit with a mom. You know, I heard from neighbors that the kid is still healing. You know, he's not back to normal. And this has been now a couple of months that that's happened. I know that Dan, that was his email to me. I think a number of you were copied. I don't know who all was copied on it, but he is looking at, you know, with the traffic engineer, how do we make that an all-way stop? I've had many neighbors ask me about this. People do not understand what's taking so long. I've tried to explain that it's a state road. And I think that
Walters or?
no, Boston Post and Fenimore and Delancey. And I gotta tell you that it's an area that so many people cross. And there's been things that have just happened to a child, right? That people are like, enough already, like something has to happen. And we did put up the no right turn sign. That was and I mentioned that to Tom, that, you know, we recognize that a sign was put up there. But that's not really the biggest part of the issue. It's really that left turn exposure in both of those, crossings, as those cars come down, heading to the harbor. You know it well. Coming down to the harbor, people pick up speed, they're making that left turn, and nobody's looking at that
And not only
crosswalk.
that, you get a walk sign, and press the button, I wait for the walk sign, the green walk sign. And I'm walking, but the cars still have the right to turn left.
And that's what
They
has to
need to
change.
synchronize it for
Yeah.
years.
And we're the only, and you know, we're one of the only spots, I don't want to say the only, but one of the only along Boston Post Road between here and Rhinebeck that I think doesn't have that all stop for pedestrians. I think that's
I think
accurate.
it's the lighting issue.
It's a timing.
Synchronization, it's block block off when it says
Yeah.
walk.
The timing.
So all red, so all
Synchronization.
red, and all red stop, so all traffic has to come to a halt, and then the lights go on for pedestrians to go.
That's
So
what I thought.
Pedestrian.
It's probably an old traffic light, because that was the
Well, Dan,
reason why other ones couldn't.
well, where in Washingtonville where no one was hit. So my
Yeah,
question is this.
50,000.
We are focused on Boston Post Road and this poor kid, child that has gotten hit. But on June 27th, on Old White Plains Road and Washington Street, another child was hit, and it wasn't even a blip on the radar. So my question would be, does the police department give that traffic commission information on any kind of situation that occurs like this? Because I witnessed it, I saw it. The child got hit because Old White Plains Road is congested and overparked.
Right.
He was crossing in between and a car was speeding and hurt him gravely. So we have an issue everywhere. And we're making noise for one side and not the other. And how and when are we going to address this issue across the board? And if there's this information coming into the police department,
Right, like, could we get a list of pedestrian accidents every month?
yeah,
I thought they
What
said
good
they
would that
couldn't
do?
do that.
what good would it do? It's going to shed light on the areas that are happening. So,
But nothing gets done.
but here we have 4 kids that got hit in probably a month and a half.
Right.
Okay, that's an issue.
But that didn't come to you from the police department either, that came from residents.
that's right.
So if these traffic incidents are occurring, can we get documentation of that so we can look at it? And what, here we are at parking. We need to almost put the brakes on, and we need to, there needs to be an ad hoc, like Mr. O'Connor said, parking committee to start looking at different avenues separate from us. And
You
to
mean traffic
address
safety?
traffic safety or
Yeah.
separate from us,
Oh,
separate.
pedestrian
Like,
safety.
Pedestrian safety and traffic safety and pedestrian and traffic
Well,
safety.
I think
You're-
that's
you're-
part of why Dan did some of these walking assessments, but there was a walking assessment done in
And
that area, but nothing was implemented. and I
Right.
don't know why, and it was a long time
And
ago.
white, and all white plains, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think.
no,
I-
a child has been hit.
Yeah, and I think part of this, and Rob did a great job sleuthing out another piece of historically relevant factoid in the minutes. And this Boston Post Road crossing at Fenimore has been something that people have been writing about and emailing about and sending handwritten notes before people emailed everything in to the village. So this isn't new. So again, I want to try to prioritize things, and it's not about making one thing more important than the other. I think that there's 2 parts here. One is there's a problem right now in our village, and that's kids are getting hit, and it seems a little alarming that four young people have been hit by a vehicle in this summer.
And then one passed away and was killed 2 years ago.
So this is these are issues that I think are taken together are alarming, and you're not going to be able to change everything all at once. So by zooming in some attention and putting pressure on one particular situation or one particular area, you get something to change, and then you replicate that. I think we tried to do that with the Fenimore Prospect Crossing, right? The bump out thing was like, hey, wow, let's experiment with the bump outs. Let's see how that works. And everyone's like, oh, those bump outs are maddening and annoying because you can't see
They were
around. And I'm like, well, it's short and safe. And somebody said, well, somebody still got hit. Somebody got hit there. So obviously it's dangerous. And I said, well, it's not the one person that got hit there. What about all the people that didn't get hit there because there's a safe crossing and cars stop for them to let them go? That's a hard thing to measure, right? So there's always going to be people that are getting hit, and that's why Vision Zero exists. Like how do you get it to 0? Right?
You can't look at all the people not been hit. I mean, it's always horrific when somebody gets hit.
No, it,
I'm just-
no, it is, but what I'm saying is, but we have been, I have heard the argument made that crosswalks cause accidents. And I think that is a
That's what they said about
preposterous,
Walters.
I
right?
think that is a preposterous and irresponsible argument to make.
I saw, that's why they didn't put the crosswalk in at Walters.
So, but we're gonna get to that in a second, and I expect,
But in the summer,
So-
you suggested we do create an ad hoc committee for safety.
No, I was saying create an ad hoc committee for the overall parking.
I don't think
You
it's
gotta
just
go to the
parking
board.
though.
But something has to be looked at, and to wait for the comprehensive plan when we're overparked and it's creating a safety issue, somebody needs to take a look at that. And if there's a residential parking program, maybe someone has to take a deeper look and see how that could become a universal situation throughout the village. So its residents and people coming in and out of the village are parking safely, because we're unable to, and parking is causing incident. Traffic is causing incidents. So traffic set aside for parking are two separate items.
Isn't parking mostly enforcement? A lot of the parking issues are.
No, it's not
enforcement.
enforcement,
Ticketing.
it's over parking. So if you drive down Old White Plains Road, for instance, and you have cars parked bumper to bumper to each other, and there's no line of sight, and you have a child dart out in the middle of the street, and a car is coming at 40 miles, maybe 50 miles an hour, and hits him, maybe that could have been prevented if there were parking lines, separation
Right, sight
between
line,
cars, a line of sight, and it's being ignored village-wide, because for the sake of squeezing another vehicle in that spot, or putting, you're putting people in harm's way. So it's got to start somewhere. It's not just the traffic that's moving. It's not just the red light. It's the whole package.
no, you made this point before, and I've gone back and forth on how I've heard it, right? But I mean, this whole idea of carving out some parking spaces, and people have said, oh, that is gonna reduce parking, and it's like, okay. But it's impossible to paint all those spaces. Not really. I mean.
Bronxville does it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like these sort of very dismissive responses come. So I think you're right. I think it's about creating some parking. I think it's also, I think it's, Mike's bike lane, bike safety. I think it's, Tina's safe routes to schools, pedestrian safety. I'm really happy that we're getting more, the parking meters that put in. I'm happy that we're getting some of these accessibility spots finally put in. I'm seeing more people that are in a chair commuting around our village. Why?
Yes.
Because it's becoming more accessible to people. So like, that's good. Those are, people want to talk about, what's good for the village. Making your village more accessible to people that need accessibility, that need accommodation. Like we should be leading on that, not figuring out like, oh, this is expensive or we can't do that. And I think that makes an excellent argument for why we need to have marked out parking spaces, because it makes a commute safer for all residents, whether you're in a chair, on a bicycle, walking on 2 feet, skateboard, rollerblades, I don't care. That's what we need. So I like the integrated approach. We got to keep up the momentum, and I want to keep us moving. On the Florence Park parking, I know David was give some update.
Yeah, so this is like unfinished business, so.
Yeah.
There's an issue, there were a couple issues. One is that the stop signs that were put in a couple years ago were not being seen or obeyed. We got a stop line, whatever it's a stop bar, and stripes put in. That's helped a lot. The other issue there is that people park at the dead end and they're sticking out basically into a full lane of traffic. And we hadn't made any sort of recommendation on that because it wasn't clear what we should recommend along the sidewalk there. Is it possible to bring Google Maps up on?
Oh, yeah.
And let's look at this. So I wanted to bring this up because I think that we're agreed that we should prohibit parking at the dead end in the lot,
At the entrance.
In front of the park?
in front of the park, with
Yes.
like a guardrail.
I thought we agreed to that
The
already.
question is, what do we do with the stretch line sidewalk? Because there's room for 2 cars there.
I think there should be a no parking in between the stripes and a parking space, because you don't want to be abutted up on top of or in front of where the opening of any park is.
It's at that park at English Corner. there.
We're causing the same
Yeah. if you could
margin of error by
drop the
allowing the
street
car to
view
park.
back, If you
anywhere
could drop, no, scroll up a little bit on the map. That's not the right street. North side of the park.
Oh, I see. I see. Right. Where it's
You know, we could take, you could
Oh, yeah.
take that in, for instance, where, you know, the elephant in the room
Alright.
here, the student, the 17-year-old that crashed into the.
Okay,
into
so-
the- Into the beach, into the harbor park.
Um,
That should be all removed.
So focusing
there you
on
go.
this stretch of sidewalk. So you can see where the Toyota's parked along the sidewalk. And that, whatever the hell that is parked basically in the street. Can you rotate our street view a little bit so we know?
You wanna drive?
Yeah. So what,
That's a stop sign.
that's a stop sign. So
That whole area should be no parking.
this is a good parking spot. People park there. The question is, what do we do with this spot here? Because
What does that sign say?
it says, welcome to Florence Park.
No, no,
No,
that sign right there
Why
next
can't
to
you drop a
telephone
bike
pole.
rack?
That's not a sign.
It's just a pole.
Okay.
So we could prohibit parking in this stretch here, which would also give room for a disabled ramp into the park, which is a whole nother thing that we're not responsible for, but it'd be nice. Or you could let this be 2 parallel spots, but going in headfirst would be very hard to
No,
do.
because that's the entrance to the park right
Can
there.
I say something?
But it's not, it's just a
From the
sidewalk.
Parks Commission?
It is not an entrance park. It is,
But you walk into the park from
that is
that
how people
sidewalk.
enter, but it's not an
Only
entrance.
Tyler, you don't have a there.
There is
It's an
no,
egress to the park. Either way, it's a way in or out of that park. So for safety purposes, if that's the quickest route and somebody is hurt 24 feet from that entrance, they are not gonna come in off of Jensen or off of Florence. They're gonna pull up here and they are gonna go to the shortest distance. So no matter who wants to write the narrative, that's an entrance to the park.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
on, there's that entrance, then there's the entrance on Florence Street.
And then on
which you're not-
Jensen,
Wait, but you're not allowed to park a
There's-
big distance
there's a
in
big,
front of
no
the,
parking
like the
zone.
whole fence, not even just the entryway. And then on Jensen, it's a circle at the end of the road and you can't park at all in
there's
that.
another
circle
entrance on Edward that has no parking
on the other
restrictions.
side too.
Right, and by the tennis courts.
And I'm not sure what the restrictions are on that little part of Lorena.
So I don't think that, I think that should all be painted with white cross lines that you
So
can't park.
I
Right.
thought, didn't we say we were blocking that out?
we agreed that these 2 spots here,
I
Well,
think that
this
you
empty
could,
one and
maybe
this
you
black
could
car
have
here should
one
be no parking.
spot from the
So
driveway.
you just want one spot against. the fence.
Or
Is that what
make
you're
that
saying?
a
I think one
handicap
spot
spot.
here
Park.
along the driveway, because that is,
that would be the better idea.
What if you make that a handicap, one handicap spot for the park? Because there's no other handicap accessible parking for that park.
the issue is that there's no genuine handicapped entrance. Like you can use that guy's driveway, but that is,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, really, they
not that
should,
that should prevent us from putting a disabled spot in.
but I think that, and I can bring this up at the Parks and Rec too, so they can make a recommendation. That should be
Right, like,
paved to be like the ramp,
Right.
walkway ramp.
yeah, I don't know who does this, but behind this car would be a great place for an
Mhm.
actual ramp.
Right.
Well, that whole area, I mean, we're not in the business of Parks and Rec. But see where that should be opened up to the ability of an emergency vehicle being able to get in there.
What is the name of that street?
says park in English.
But yeah, but
Sewer.
that's not a car-sized entrance to the park.
There's a sewer there.
So this is still a cutout of the road, stopped, where that fence is. So, Ryan, just
Yeah.
twist it so we can look straight at that fence. See that fence right there?
So the sewer's in the way, but I'm sure there's something.
But
that
if,
can be
see
done.
that fence right there and you see the guardrail, that can be opened up and you can have, Parks and Rec and the village can make complete access into that park to assist anybody who's handicapped.
Well.
That
I think
area
that's a
should be-
large.
Well, I
Well-
think what Jerry had said was that's far away from the playground and everything in the park.
Yeah.
So people would use, which, I mean, people still.
People
use
cross through that
entrance,
and
but-
walk to school every
Yes.
single
Oh,
day.
no, I know. I don't, but I think that it should have handicap. ramp
That's the
access. Maybe
crossway
you could do
between
it
the high
next
school
to-
and Bellows
I
and
wouldn't,
Daniel
but
Warren.
I wouldn't get rid of that guardrail because God forbid the
You-
same thing happens like at the harbor.
You could reinvent the guardrail and you could put, you could put a million things there to stop it and to still have some sort of access.
Mhm.
But you need, those lines are supposed to be painted there. And I would get rid, that, you can't park over that sewer. So that's a no-no anyway. I would bring it out.
Yeah.
Considering the state of flooding we are, we shouldn't be doing that whatsoever.
No, not that one.
I will add that to we don't meet in the summer. We don't have a meeting. The Parks and Rec,
11:04.
agenda for September.
Can you talk about handicap accessible, that driveway was.
No, I would- I mean, we can't use, but you can't use someone's driveway. I would put it somewhere else there and just have no.
I live
parking,
on
have a
English Place.
handicap
there,
How they
so
supposed to get
that's-
interest?
You live on English? My
On
friend
the other block.
on the other side.
All right,
They
all
want
right, so is there a
Yeah,
recommendation that we
Well,
wanna-
we have friends there, right there on the
Right.
corner house.
do we have a recommendation?
That one, or that one?
Yeah, what's,
That one, it's the corner of English and Halsted.
Any, are we
motion.
good with, is there a motion for anything that we want to discuss it more next meeting?
Do you
Well, I'm
want
lost
me,
with
do you
this.
want me to discuss it at Parks and Rec and see
Yeah.
what they recommend? But
Sure.
that won't be till September. Our first meeting is, our next
Can we
meeting
wait
is
till
March,
September, David?
Yes.
So Parks and Rec, Tina, good. All right,
Yeah.
Claflin Avenue, what's going on with Claflin?
Mr. LaRocca is not here.
Oh, Mr. Walker's not here.
No, I'm sorry. It's Mr. LaRocca was Jefferson Coast.
Oh.
We're waiting for the building department to weigh in and indicate whether parking is allowed on Claflin. For months.
What do you think we should do with that, Lonnie? You think do we have the ability to reach out directly to the building department to ask? Do we have to go through Dan? How does that?
We have to go to them, Dan or Jerry.
All right, so now you've reached out to them. Do you want to ping them again?
Pick on Dan and
Ping,
Jerry.
ping, ping. Okay. Can we do that? Okay. All right, Walter's Hot Dogs, Palmer Crosswalk. Tina knows my opinion. Tina, why don't you share yours?
So I read all of that, all those old minutes.
Can you explain to everybody who hasn't read it, how far back those minutes go and what they said?
Probably not because I have a really bad memory.
I mean, it's like the year 2000,
I'm
right?
sorry.
It goes back to 2001 and 2002.
Well, Lonnie, sorry.
No, I just had a question. Claflin Avenue, what page is it on the spreadsheet?
I think it's on the page.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I was
It's
in
not-
building department. Remember, it was like, we had to, it was something that the fire
I'm
department
missing
requested,
page
right?
two.
I'm also missing.
Fire department needed the parking.
I don't have
to
to-
see what the width was of.
Nobody has page two.
He was gonna take your fire truck down the street, make sure a fire truck passed.
Make sure
But
they
then they
return.
said that building department had to get involved, and they were like,
Can somebody
Not
send me,
how I-
do you have page 2 in front of you, Robert?
Sure.
it's
I-
not,
I'm
it's
missing
not in the
page
Everybody's
packet.
missing pages.
Yeah, I don't have page 2.
I have the old one from May.
It's okay, I just need to look at it.
There it is, right?
Something there?
So the business is the same.
That's probably the least important. I should
No.
have your-
Yes, it looks like the same, but it looks like a
Robert,
little
did
bit more.
you email this by any chance?
No,
I was told
no,
not to.
no,
Then
I-
I'd like a copy of page 2.
I'll give you a copy.
I recommended.
Robert, none of us have a copy of page 2 to make a couple.
Really?
Yeah.
For some reason, they're all
Here,
missing
you need
page
this
two.
back?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously,
I don't have
all-
page 2
yeah,
either.
That's all we're asking. I understand, don't email it, we'll send it, carrier pigeon, whatever we have to.
I recommended that we just disseminate the list paper-wise this meeting.
That's fine. I just didn't have page 2.
No, I know, but just so you know, like, that's the,
Oh, I don't, it does, at this point now.
We just hope.
but I was trying to be.
You know, I love paper. But actually, at this point, because Wi-Fi does just not working right now, I don't have access to my emails, I don't have access
Me
to
neither.
anything.
I can't even send for help.
You want,
So-
my-
Yeah, I can't
you want,
send for
I can
help
serve
right
you
now.
some Wi-Fi. You want some Wi-Fi?
No, I mean,
It
it,
works on yours?
Of course it does.
what do you got? What do you have? Verizon?
He's got some-
T-Mobile?
You don't have.
He's got
you have
something
T-Mobile
magical
going
going
on.
on.
That's
Yeah,
what it is.
T-Mobile is the best. I don't know why my husband
I
switched to
use
Verizon. I hate Verizon.
Yeah.
T-Mobile
I
is
have
the
5G. 5G. You want
Good job.
to
It's
T-Mobile
T-Mobile
connect?
at the point.
No, well,
Buck, and it's my phone number,
okay.
917-582-2666. If you need to do something, I'll start. Hey, my Wi-Fi is
Can you do
your
a
Wi-Fi.
hotspot? How do you do that? Can you do a hotspot?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you want my passcode, it's just my phone number, 917-582-2668.
Okay. So I need to figure
Buck
out-
phone or something like that.
So you guys were moving on to Walters, right?
Yeah, so Walter, so you have like some type of summary, like what was like your takeaway, like this is.
There were a lot of good points both ways, but none to make me say that there should be a crosswalk there. And I had a conversation with Dan, and he had told me that it was never repeated because it was a danger, but that did not reflect in those minutes at all.
That may have happened, there was a crosswalk at the time of those minutes. At some point after that, it may have been, they repaved and they just never repainted it. But I couldn't find anything in old minutes about removing the crosswalk.
So, part of something that stuck out to me is that it was recommended that the school put up a fence, which I liked that idea, because then if you do have the crosswalk and you have a fence, the kids are gonna wanna cross at that one spot because you can't walk up the grass. Like kids right now, there's a staircase, but they also are walking up the grass.
Yeah, you want
But
to
if there's a
corral them.
fence, then they can't walk up the grass and use, the crosswalk might be used for.
That's a great idea.
Can I?
It was in the
Yeah,
minutes, it wasn't my idea.
Yeah, Rob.
I read all the minutes.
So at the last Board of Trustees meeting, there's a gentleman named Myron Tannenbaum. Mr. Tannenbaum was on the Traffic Commission for many, many
He was
years.
the
and he-
principal of American High School.
He was a
right?
teacher at the
He was a
United High School
teacher?
for many
Yeah.
years, yes.
I
And
was
he was
shocked.
also the traffic, chair of the traffic for many, many years. So he's very knowledgeable and was on the Traffic Commission in 2001 and 2002 when these minutes were taken. So I reached out to him when I saw these minutes to get his take on what happened. He spoke, and Leilani can confirm this, he spoke at the Board of Trustees meeting, at their last meeting, and recommended that they add a crosswalk, but that they add it with flashing lights to ensure additional safety, because the idea, I think everyone agrees that a crosswalk in and of itself in the middle of the block is not in conformity with good traffic concepts. the middle of the block is not a good idea. So he presented that to the Board of Trustees. I didn't hear any response from them, whether they thought it was a good idea or discuss it. So beyond that, I don't know, other than he recommended a crosswalk with flashing lights.
From Jerry's, he did email the county about it, and he's waiting for updates from.
And then, do we know if there is a result of the study that Carmody did there? Because there was a study done, I was told.
I don't know, but I can ask.
And while they're talking about flashing lights, can you get an update on the other flashing lights? Because Dan said they were on order. They were supposed to put them on Barry at the crosswalk near the
Yeah,
firehouse.
very
One
interesting.
thing at a time.
And
What's the other thing that you just said?
there's an update on the flashing lights that were ordered. They're called something, but I don't remember.
All right. Excellent. So, any updates on Crown Court and Knollwood? Dan.
So, no, go ahead.
No, I remember 2 meetings ago, I asked Dan what was happening with that, because back in March, he said he followed with Mr. Carmody on what to do. And we decided, as a commission, we decided not to put a stop sign there because it was uphill. And we had, I think in the minutes, said the case was probably closed, or I think we emailed them that the case was closed, then came back to us.
Right.
In May, inquired if there was any update from Mr. Carmody.
Michael inquired if there was any update.
That's the last I heard. So
May.
and he said that he'd get to Matt Carmody, and he's busy. So we're just waiting back. 'Cause there's not, if you visited that site, it's kind of tricky to figure something out. You can't figure that out.
Yeah. that's gonna be a conversation.
So it's, yes, it's a follow.
Fasney at New Street.
French American School, right?
The stop
Wasn't that the
signs were
study?
not discussed.
To the study.
And Carmody says it needed to be studied.
Oh, really?
Who said it needed to, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
That's what it was says in the notes.
A stop sign needs to be
Yeah, I
studied
was- I-
between
I-
a church and a
Yes,
school.
yes, ma'am.
510, as per Matt Carmody, we need to run this request through the New York State Department. A study needs to be done before this can be approved. This was back in May.
I think that they misunderstood what we were asking for, because I can't imagine that's the answer.
We didn't need a study for a stop sign on Barry Avenue.
No, that's why I wonder if
But
he's
we've
done
been waiting for Dan to clarify whether that was
Right.
referring to
But
that
I'm
or
just-
something else. And so we're stuck in limbo.
Right.
Again.
Well, why doesn't the traffic commission make a recommendation again?
Well, I think that we should do that. I think we
On
should,
my emails right now.
I think we should make a recommendation to install a stop sign on New Street and,
Well, you have.
well,
Again.
reinstitute it again and send it forward because
Because I have a feeling that they don't understand what you're asking for.
Who's that?
I don't know, whoever said that you need to study.
so then we need to backtrack and do a study on Barry Avenue and remove that stop sign quickly.
The board of trustees approved changing the time. There was, so it was 2 parts, changing the time of the signs. and
Right.
I would
The
like
time
to-
was approved. I don't know if the signs were changed.
I would like to make a motion that we put a stop sign at New Street. And is it Underhill?
Yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
All right.
And maybe you should
Which
let
side
them
of
know
the
that it was
street?
recommended by the police department.
But which side of the street?
It was in the other meetings.
Right, which corner? We have to-
Endorsed by the police department.
Endorsed.
That's good, we didn't get it.
I'm
surprised
I'm surprised it hasn't been done either.
You gotta mention the side of the street.
it actually should be on both sides of the street because it's a one-way.
It's a
Change your
one-way,
motion.
yeah.
There was even
Both sides
thought that there might have been signs up
Uh,
there at one point a long time ago.
But then I think Dan looked and said there wasn't.
It wasn't.
I'd like to
But
make a motion
I-
for the three-way stop.
No, it's just. one on each
No,
side.
No, it's
It's-
just
it's a
One going
one-way
this way and one
street.
going this way.
So here's the street, here's the street, right here.
I'd like to make a motion that we put a stop sign on New Street on both sides of the street at the intersection with Underhill.
Second the motion.
All
To
those in
be
favor?
completed before September
To
1st
be,
for the
to be
start of
completed
school.
before the, good luck.
Put ASP.
I'm sorry.
You can have that in there. All right, moving along. We got a few more things. Everybody wants to get home. I know it's late. But I had a feeling that this meeting was gonna be a little bit like this, and I think this committee needed this meeting. I know it's been probably a little bit more tedious for you, but we just haven't had like a meeting like where we could kind of talk like this in almost a year. So, it's been pretty good. So I appreciate you hanging tough with us. All right, 1511 the Merrimack Avenue.
I can speak to that.
Okay, yes, please.
Okay, so that was going through the board a couple of meetings ago too. And you guys were talking about, you didn't want to do it. Just wanted to try to make it clear. What the person is asking for is basically a 4-foot buffer from his driveway. It's not asking because it says parking space. He doesn't want a parking space. He doesn't want a personal parking space. He does have an issue. Definitely has an issue.
Can you explain what the issue is?
So-
Everybody understand?
So it's Mamaroneck Avenue, it's a busy street, it's northbound, he lives on the northbound side. He can get into his driveway, because it just makes right, but getting out of the driveway is horrendous.
The driveway is downhill.
It's downhill, he doesn't really have enough turn parking in his driveway, so it's not like he nose out.
Yeah.
Probably has to back out. And it's hazardous. So what he's asking for is a 4-foot buffer. Here's the, I got pictures if you'd like to look at it real quick. 7, 8. What he's looking for, he's not looking to take a parking space out, he's looking for a 4-foot buffer.
Yep.
So he can get out of his driveway. I think it's reasonable. I don't know, and like I said, it was before you guys before, but I think at the other time, I think people were thinking it was a whole parking spot. It's not asking for a parking spot. It's asking for it to be like a 4-foot buffer.
It's almost like giving him an apron to be able
Right.
to swing.
He really,
And I
I
understand
mean,
that.
I've been up there and it's almost impossible to get in there.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not lacking courage.
It's not. No,
It's just that dangerous.
Not just him, it's his wife too.
Yeah, his wife is actually complaining, he's not the complaint.
She's the one that originally brought the issue to us.
Well, she parks in front of the house because she can't get
So
in
it's
and out of
basically
the
this
driveway.
little spot right here.
Okay.
right?
Right,
That's what he wants to, so,
right, so if you put a 4-foot buffer there,
That's
so
a
you
down, you can't tell them that's down.
Yeah.
Right, it's a downhill slope.
It's steep too. It's not
So
like.
if you take 4 foot out of it, it might not even impact parking spots.
All right,
It's
well,
only 4 foot.
yeah, so I think it would be recommending a sign that says no parking from here to
Here,
driveway.
yeah, from here to corner.
all right, I'd like to make a motion that we put a no parking sign 5 feet away from the edge of 511 Mamaroneck Avenue.
Drive 511.
Oh, sorry, 1511 Mamaroneck Avenue from the corner of the driveway. I said, that's right. You're better at this.
Make a motion to create a no parking sign from the edge of the driveway, 5 feet, whatever direction it is, north, south,
East,
east,
No, south.
heading towards the south.
Dominic, is Mamaroneck Avenue east and west or north and
That
south?
should be at that area, we technically call north and south, so it would be just south of the driveway. 5 foot south of the driveway.
that's it. Doesn't matter which side.
It's gonna be
On
south,
the northbound
South.
side, on the
Yeah,
northbound
the north
side of
where the arrow
Mamaroneck Avenue.
is, where the arrow is.
where the arrow is. And I don't know if you want to think about putting something on a street like.
Yeah.
The
picked it
line
on there.
markings.
I think that would probably be better with a sign and that, and nobody will park there.
You mean
You'll be able to
both?
get in and out. I
Yeah.
think both.
Okay.
That's my personal.
Can I say
It's like
something?
what we had
Before
from
you
corner
do
away,
that?
went to
Can I
American.
say
Sure.
something? Because we had this problem, the same solution on Rockland Avenue. Somebody wanted to remove parking in front of someone's house and they put this. The problem was people were parking there, but the police department said they can't give tickets because of this, so they had.
Oh,
to
you
put
should
no parking sign.
definitely put the sign.
You need the
Here
sign
the
and
corner.
So,
We're here to driveway.
right, so this is not enough.
No,
It's a
no, it's
sign.
definitely not enough, but
But
it's just,
coupled with
it's just
the
another
sign,
thing.
it's
They
a
don't see-
visual that they know they can't
Right.
park in
They
that
can't
spot.
So in my my feelings are, somebody's gonna see that, it might not be enforceable, but the sign is enforceable.
Right.
So if somebody doesn't see the sign and parks there, then they'll get a ticket, they're definitely gonna get a ticket, but.
But why would they need that if the sign is there?
Because what happens is
people
you
with
have you have a clear line of demarcation. Like we asked for this on the corner of Old White Plains Road and Mamaroneck Avenue, and it hasn't happened right in front of Old
Right.
Peter and Sons. Because that's an area that you need it, because you have people stopping and going. You have somebody that isn't paying attention to the sign, but if they're looking down to the ground, they're gonna see the white stripes and they're gonna
Right,
slow
and
back a minute, and then they're gonna look up and see a sign.
realistically, it is a little unique situation because you're trying to do it for a house rather than here to corner or here to street, so it's kind of like that's.
It's a middle of block.
You know what I mean? That's what I would do. You guys
Yeah,
wanna do that?
we just did something similar on North Berry for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, did they do it?
They've done it just.
We did something. I'm not sure whether they've done it.
I like the way that you break that.
Well, did we, did it?
Hit it.
Motion, what do you have so far?
Motion.
Let me see if I can try. Making a motion to create a no parking zone 5 feet from the edge of the driveway, inclusive of a demarcation. I lost that, on the south side, on the north side?
North side.
North side of America.
That's 1-by-1.
Oh, I heard that was a one thing.
South of the drive.
South.
You just write that down. Or write that down.
All those in favor?
Oh,
Hi.
you're gonna write that down with the minutes.
I'm gonna write it.
Yeah, super. All right.
Can you
Let's-
save 2 minutes for me? No, I want to talk about some.
Yes.
recommendations.
And I'm gonna, my goal is to try to get us out of here in the next 10 minutes. Is that fair?
Sure.
Yes.
Can we get 10 more minutes? Hard stop at 20 till. It's a long meeting, but we started late because of tech stuff. All right, so we're gonna skip Mr. Laraco because he's not here tonight. I've missed Andy. Where's
Yeah, I
where's
like
Andy?
Andy's
He's
usually around.
really, he's really, he's really
So
helpful.
we need an update from him on the Coughlin Avenue.
Yeah, hopefully he's well. Okay, so not, yeah, Claflin and Jefferson. So number 9, no commercial parking sign on U Street.
Didn't we do that?
We already do that?
Look, Laura, did we do that?
Nope.
No, that was different.
Well, we talked about it because it wasn't done, so we didn't do it.
You said no,
No commercial
Jerry
parking.
said that he is taking care of it.
Okay, Jerry's taking care of that. Excellent. Royal Place and Old Post Road. Showing up a foliage. You know,
Yeah, I know what that is.
That was, that is what Jerry said, because when I asked him on Monday, he said that he's taking care of
That was
the
months ago.
foliage, but I'm adding it to the email to remind him along with, and that's comes to my question, Robert, you said the foliage on
At
Union.
the corner of Old Post Road and Royal.
And
No,
then
no,
the other
no, but
one,
I'm asking
Union.
about Union.
Tompkins and
Union and Tompkins.
Tompkins and Union, and is that that's a residential that you
Yes.
said we have
Corner
to
of
check.
Tompkins and Union.
Corner of Tompkins.
It's a great example of us pulling things together, right?
Excellent. Any update on Taylor's Lane, Boston Post Road?
This is the one, you know,
That has to
we
happen.
approved the crosswalk at the corner
I watched
of, at the intersection of. And I guess Carmen said, you need a state road, you need a study.
Even though,
And so we were waiting for Dan to intercede and say, yes, no, when can the study, so Ms. Reese's, Lindsay.
Lindsay.
I don't think, so she's expecting that the crosswalk is gonna be there in September when school starts. Little does she know, it's not gonna happen.
Is that what she said?
And I don't, and this is back to communication, and no one, as far as I know, has reached out to her and say, oh, by the way, there's a snag, it's not gonna get done.
Well, she just sent us an email. She was very thankful for the stop signs.
I feel like I read in an email, somebody
very
had stated
thankful.
that a study would need to be done, and I mean, I could be
Did
hallucinating.
anybody notify her that I'm aware of?
She sent the recent email about thank you
She
for the
thanked us
stop
for
signs,
everything
so
else we
I
did.
guess one
The
more
stop
response.
signs and other things.
Do we know there has to be a study done?
Because it's a state road,
Right.
it's a county road.
do you want to reach out?
I can reach out to her.
You want to do that?
Michael,
All right, Michael, thank
Any
you.
help with the wording?
All right, Union walk study we did. All right, I think that's, I'd like to make, has everybody like reviewed the minutes
Yes.
for June 13th, 2023? Are there any,
Dave, you usually catch the typos or
I have no updates to your minutes. Share.
And the start time is correct.
all right, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as is, prepared by,
I second that motion.
all those in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Okay. All right, and lastly, we have not had our esteemed colleague with us in the last meeting. And so I'd like to give Michael Starr.
Oh, okay. Elaine, I was gonna email you about this, but I was reading the June minutes about some, either it's confusion or not with the Board of Trustees is recommending the bike program move forward. There was a statement by the village manager thinking that the Board of Trustees did not want to move this forward. And then you meant that your name was mentioned that you think the Board of Trustees do want to move this forward. You know, and then Jerry was gonna follow up to see where they stand on this.
So
You know anything about
I did ask Jerry a little bit about that on Monday, and from what he said, it was the state is working on doing some work on Boston Post Road across, like going across. And that would be the most optimum place to put our bike lanes, because if it's on Halsted, is
On Boston Post Road? That's a huge undertaking.
it would be a huge undertaking, but if they're already working on stuff
Right.
coming down, that's where we will try to strike to see if we could place it there. As well as looking in other places, but our roads are so tight.
Right.
It's not that we don't want it, but definitely looking into it, where we can place it.
So there's a general feeling that the trustees want to.
Oh,
do
no,
something.
definitely.
Oh, I was just reading the minutes saying village manager. That they didn't want to move forward.
No,
And it's not
no,
just-
it-
'cause I went to a meeting with this guy, Michael Sweets, who did the whole.
yes,
It's one he had it,
and he,
Zoom, nobody showed up, it was just somebody else, it was Zoom where like 3 people were there.
well,
Just
no, but he
last- no,
presented, he
no, no,
presented
no.
here, and he presented at
No, I'm just
the,
saying, a few weeks ago, he invited people who are on a special email list that were interested. and like 100 people.
I don't
who
know
showed
that.
up.
I don't know, that's,
I didn't get that.
Did you get that email?
I don't think I did.
Okay, maybe you didn't, I don't know, you got my name there, but that's not the point. The point is that that Boston Post Road is a huge undertaking, he knows that, but again, even if they don't do Boston Post Road, there's so many different things that the village could do, like improve the bike facilities, or at least having more racks so commuters could bike
So it's
there.
not just bike lanes, we're also thinking just cycling in general,
It's
like anything to support that cyclist.
right,
Like,
this guy,
if
you
you
know,
go through the village and you see, like, on White Plains Road through the village, people have their bikes chained up to telephone poles.
right,
You know,
exactly. We need more bike racks.
you need more bike
But-
racks.
Was
I was just thinking-
Halsted off the table? Because
Halsted,
Dan
I
had
read-
mentioned
We
because
talked-
there
yeah,
was
Jerry
issue-
didn't like Holsted. I'm not crazy. He said it's dicey. I'm not crazy about Holsted. I
Yeah.
think it's very narrow.
I mean, I bike Halsted
I
almost
mean,
every day.
but
It's no
I've
fun.
biked up Holsted. It's
Well,
like,
the issue
you're
is-
looking at doors hitting you and
Yeah.
it's not, I'm not, he
It's
just
too
mentioned that
narrow and
he's
it's
not interested.
commercial.
Yeah, I'm
and
not.
that-
But it's,
Boston
but
goes
it's a
around.
route to the train.
But
No, I'm
Boston
just saying
goes
it's
to the-
Yeah, no,
difficult.
I
If they
know.
didn't do it, I wouldn't be upset. But everything's possible.
Okay, I just want to broaden the discussion about the biking program. My understanding of what Jerry was saying was that he believed that the Board of Trustees were not in favor of a bike program for the village.
That's what I'm bringing up.
And so you were focusing on Halsted, or you were focused, so,
No, I was,
okay, so I just want to get a better understanding, because I thought you were going to follow up on whether, because you said you thought that the Board of Trustees was in favor of a bike
Yes.
program. So we're trying to find out whether the Board of Trustees is considering and would like to consider a biking program for the village, not in specific locations, but as a whole.
So in a biking program, meaning,
You know,
like,
it's-
it meaning,
It's in the comprehensive.
Yes.
list. Like if you look at Robert's list, it's like
Mhm.
20 different points.
Right.
Just in favor of doing some of these.
some of
You
these
know, we
things.
can't do.
And
it
this
like-
guy,
there's so many-
Michael, has a plan of his own.
He has a plan that encompasses, he has a plan of his own.
And he has
that
a plan for getting
Different
grants.
there's grants that are available, he wants to get by October. There was something about Halsted that I think they lost out on.
Yeah.
The grant was.
And he wanted to link.
But
Yeah,
that-
and
that's passed. That was- that
Halsted
deadline was
wasn't the
July.
best.
But the deadline passed. That was in July.
Halsted wasn't the best idea. for a number of reasons.
Right.
I mean, I like the idea that it connects to the,
I just
The
thought
training.
Dan said because they're doing that work, that maybe they could try to figure something.
But you did mention that. There was a grant,
But there is a lot of parking.
right? And the grant passed.
you're gonna, yeah, and that's the thing, you're gonna lose a lot of parking. I mean, I think that
There's always
the
gonna be
Boston Post Road thing, you know, for the kiddos getting to school,
Right, did
the
you see this
schools
one?
is really sensible. And then also connecting, having a corridor
As long as
connecting
the trustees are
Rye,
generally in favor.
Mhm.
and the Merrimack that is you know, a real, not the sheriff, but a real bike lane would be pretty amazing to, like, you know, when you wanna.
There's a bike rack right in front of the regatta here.
Yeah, that's
Well,
good.
when,
Is it-
when they,
There are
I'm
bikes
using it
there.
right now.
Yeah.
when they finish this bridge here, which isn't for another couple of years, they're gonna repave all of Boston Post Road, because we're still waiting for them to fix the curve in front of American High School, and they told us that that will happen when they repave in 2 years.
This guy, Michael Smith, he's talking about 2026. He's looking at the long-term project. He's got a lot of energy. He's including Rye Neck. I mean, it's a big thing. So we're hoping, the board of trustees of Merrimack will be
But that's where
behind
a
that as well.
consortium needs to be had.
I'm
When he's
not-
got to the meetings.
Well,
This is a little-
I hope he's gonna spin out some type of, you know, a group or, you know, affinity group.
You saw
or
him speak too,
something
right?
That's going to
Yeah.
like
I
message
know,
this, because I
right.
think the
But
more
I
people
haven't
You must
seen
be able to
know
anybody
about
that far.
this,
Yeah.
and they get excited about that, I think it's gonna be real easy for him to get some buy-in. And I think he already has something, but he needs to get the town involved, the village involved, and several village boards involved. So, all right, I'm excited
I
about
have a
that.
Well, I just want to get the
recommendation.
answer. If
Yes.
you guys, if the
What I'm-
trustees looked, because there was some disagreement in the minutes last time. And maybe our village manager wasn't so hot on, unless that was just the Boston project.
Jerry can be hot or have reservations about a certain issue, but I believe from our last meeting that the trustees are on board with any type of bike program because it was in the comp plan to support cyclists, support it in any way that we can. So I'm sending an email because I have a whole list. If you guys want me to read back the list, I will read back the list. That's about to be sent. Would you guys like to hear about
About the bike program?
It's included.
But
Everything.
just so I understand. Don't think the wrong way.
I'm
It's
not-
not enough just to send that. There needs to be follow-up.
This is the follow-up. This is to send a list to follow up. If I don't get a response, our next meeting is Monday. But that's not, the next real meeting is not until August, because I believe the next meeting is about budget. If I don't get a response by the end of this week, then I will follow up again. Because I just also sent out, I saw what was the holdup with the form. Eddie didn't reply back to Robert, so I thought, and I CC'd you guys on it. So that's the follow-up for that, to say, where are we at? And I need it addressed ASAP, and I did say that in the email.
Was it that Jerry or Dan?
Thank you.
That was to Robert and Eddie. Eddie Sirocco does the forms, and
Oh,
Eddie,
okay.
Robert does put stuff on the email, but that's just for the incident form. So, my list includes Claflin Avenue, my list includes Union and Tompkins regarding the foliage, which also includes the Royal Place. I also included the bullet points about which ones will be addressed for Union Avenue according to the study. What are the updates on the flashing lights order on Palmer? I'm also putting other things that I'm from the list, including the biking program.
Did you put in removing the resolution for New Street? Not New
I'm
Street.
not even
Oh,
finished.
sorry. I thought you were done.
No, I'm still typing.
Just getting started.
I'm just typing.
Who,
And the speed limit marker.
Maybe you could put the biking program, who's responsible for writing
And
the
for
grants?
Christmas, what we would like.
Dan,
Dan,
Okay, I think I heard this big grant deadline in October.
I'm quite sure there'll be other ones.
All right, And then who is following up on the North Berry disabled spot?
That's me. I'm gonna send an email to you.
I'm not saying,
No,
I
no,
just
no,
wanna
I
get- I-
said that I would
yeah,
say,
I just wanna make sure that
I
part's
will do it, and I'll do it actually right now. before I leave. Now that I got your
Amazing.
Wi-Fi.
I have Wi-Fi.
I moved to adjourn.
I
Am I
second.
can't, am I having
All in
Alzheimer's?
favor?
No commercial.
commercial.
Are you interested in adjourning? Say aye.
Wait,
Yeah.
yes.
So,
Adjourn.
you have the only, because this Zoom failed on us, there was an error that popped up
I didn't
somewhere along
read it.
there. I don't know when it cut
I
out.
have to just look
So,
at it.
Rob,
Taylor Road.
Zoom failed at some point. I don't know when it failed.
Stop signs at River Hill.
All right, guys, take care.
Hey, thank you so much.
What we've heard,
Study.
That-
For the third time.
Study to make it general.
Yeah,
I'd say that-
I mean, it's gonna be a recording, just not all
I
of
would
it.
say that right now.
Which really
this,
needs
I mean, this is all I got, saying of error. I don't know what that means.
actually, you can stay right.
Stay.
Yeah, stay right. So our traffic engineer is,
Oh, stop. Can you conduct a study? They have to conduct.
may have to conduct a study
Her name Christine
before,
Moore. right?
before the state.
You're like the ghost of Mrs. Muir.
I don't know, we'll see.
I
We'll
don't
see.
know
Sure
that one,
with
but
this.
okay.
Google
Now,
happened in.
if they're talking about
Start
repaving Boston
time.
Post Road, then
Use
maybe
the
it
house.
becomes part of that
for
bigger
margin
project.
line.
Oh,
really?
details. All right.
No,
To
like,
own
that's
it.
pure
But the
speculation.
house really was in California.
Oh, wow.
And
You know that?
Stay, study, maybe.